Welcome to Histology. The Roman Empire became famous for military innovation, and one of its most remarkable developments was the Cataphract, heavily armored mounted warriors who served as ancient battle tanks. These armored horsemen played crucial roles in Roman campaigns, especially in eastern territories where they faced some of antiquity's most powerful mounted forces. Let's examine the origins and legacy of these armored knights on the battlefield. The idea of armored cavalry, mounted soldiers covered in protective armor, did not start with Rome. Its roots go back to ancient Eastern civilizations, including the Assyrians, Persians, and Macedonians. At first, these armies used light cavalry for speed and quick strikes, but slowly learned the benefits of heavy cavalry, riders who, protected by thick armor and carrying powerful weapons, could crush enemy formations. Persian horsemen called Cataphracts pioneered fully armored cavalry warfare. These mounted warriors wore armor protecting both riders and horses, using devastating shock tactics. This tradition of heavy cavalry passed to Alexander the Great's Macedonians, who added armored cavalry units to their forces. The victories of Alexander and his successors showed these elite units' effectiveness, eventually inspiring Rome to adapt its own cavalry accordingly. As Rome expanded eastward, it met military traditions very different from those it usually faced. Particularly the Seleucids, one of the Hellenistic dynasties controlling the Syrian region, used armored cavalry in their armies. Romans first encountered these horsemen during the Battle of Thermopylae and Magnesia in the 2nd century BC. These battles showed heavy cavalry's potential, though the Seleucid cataphract units ultimately failed to stop the advance of Rome's well-disciplined and tactically flexible legions. Rome's greatest shock later came during fights with the Parthians, an Eastern empire that mastered heavy cavalry tactics. In 53 BC, Rome suffered a devastating defeat at Carrhae, where Roman legions used to infantry-centered combat were overwhelmed by Parthian cataphracts' power. These armored horsemen, supported by mounted archers and light cavalry, surrounded and crushed the Roman forces through coordinated surprise attacks and superior mobility. This humiliating loss served as Rome's wake-up call, showing that continued eastern expansion would require adapting and improving their own cavalry capabilities. Following the Carrhae disaster, Rome recognized the urgent need to develop heavy cavalry units capable of countering eastern mounted forces. While Roman legions excelled in ground combat, their weak cavalry against armored eastern forces represented a critical vulnerability. Rome began enhancing its mounting capabilities through multiple approaches, recruiting allies from eastern regions like the Sarmatians, renowned for their heavy cavalry expertise, and simultaneously training and equipping their own cavalry units. Thus emerged the Roman Cataphract units, which, though initially less heavily armored than their eastern counterparts, gradually incorporated more comprehensive protection. The first documented deployment of Roman Cataphract units occurred during the Great Jewish Revolt in 67 AD. Facing fierce resistance from Jewish independence fighters, Roman commander Vespasian utilized cataphract units like auxiliary allies rather than regular Roman troops against the Jewish rebels. While not fully integrated into the standard Roman army, these cataphracts represented Rome's initial experimentation with heavy cavalry tactics. The formal establishment of regular Roman armored cavalry units occurred during Emperor Hadrian's reign around 130 AD. The increasing need for specialized cavalry to confront Eastern powers like the Sassanids and Parthians became evident during this period. The first regular Roman cataphract unit was stationed in Moesia Inferior, a strategically vital southeastern imperial province. These early Roman units represented a developmental step toward more advanced cataphract formations. The initial units featured partial armor with limited protection for horses and riders, whereas later iterations would incorporate more comprehensive armor systems, optimizing both protection and mobility. Despite their battlefield advantages, Roman cataphracts faced significant operational challenges. Perhaps most problematic was the production and maintenance of complete armor sets, which proved extraordinarily expensive and difficult to manufacture. A cataphract's armor wasn't merely protective plating. It required precisely crafted bronze or iron scale armor, chainmail, and other specialized components demanding substantial resources. This represented a massive imperial expense, with maintenance of these complex armor systems creating an ongoing financial burden, particularly during active campaigns when damage occurred regularly. Additionally, the mobility limitations of armored horses created tactical constraints. Though protected from direct attacks, the weight of armor frequently exhausted horses, preventing them from matching unarmored cavalry speed. This meant Cataphract units weren't suitable for all combat scenarios, particularly when rapid movement proved crucial. To address this limitation, Romans began implementing partial armor on certain units, lightening the equipment while maintaining some protection. Though more manageable, even these modified units remained substantially heavier than light cavalry counterparts. To compensate for these limitations, Romans increasingly incorporated auxiliary troops like mounted archers and light cavalry to support cataphract operations. These supporting units engaged enemies from distance or flanking positions, allowing cataphracts to function effectively as shock troops without their mobility limitations becoming decisive disadvantages. Roman cataphracts utilized specialized equipment designed for maximum battlefield effectiveness. Beyond scale armor, chainmail, and helmets, they wielded the contos lance, a two-handed spear approximately 12 feet long that constituted their primary offensive weapon. This substantial weapon's length and weight allowed horsemen to channel their momentum into devastating strikes, capable of unseating opponents or penetrating defensive formations. Cataphracts also carried spatha and daggers as secondary weapons for close-quarters combat when lances proved impractical. Cataphract training demanded extraordinary rigor. Only the most accomplished horsemen qualified for these elite units, requiring years of experience and active service. Training encompassed physical conditioning, formation practice, and simulated battle scenarios, preparing knights for actual combat conditions. As elite formations, Roman cataphracts represented the empire's finest mounted warriors, reflected in their battlefield performance. Despite their battlefield importance, cataphract units began declining during the Roman Empire's final centuries. Despite their effectiveness, these specialized forces encountered mounting challenges. Internal imperial instability combined with persistent external threats from barbarian incursions and Eastern Empire conflicts complicated Rome's ability to maintain these resource-intensive units. The substantial costs of producing and maintaining heavy armor, coupled with the physical demands placed on armored horses, limited Rome's capacity to preserve cataphract forces at peak effectiveness. Additionally, evolving warfare tactics and battlefield conditions led to cataphracts gradually yielding to new cavalry formations better suited to the late Roman Empire's military requirements. During Diocletian and Constantine's reigns, cataphract units still fulfilled important battlefield roles, particularly in eastern regions. They proved valuable against Sassanids, Parthians, and other heavy forces threatening imperial borders. However, over time, cataphracts diminished in strategic importance as newer, faster, more maneuverable cavalry units proved more effective in evolving military campaigns. Cataphract legacy endured beyond their declining Roman usage. Their influence echoed through military history, shaping the development of medieval armored cavalry formations.